In 1986, a Japanese diver searching for hammerhead sharks stumbled upon something that should not exist. He was diving off the coast of Yonaguni, a tiny island at the southernmost tip of Japan. The water was clear. The reef was alive with fish. And then, as he descended, he saw it. A massive stone structure rising from the ocean floor. It had perfectly straight edges. Sharp 90-degree angles. Flat terraces that looked like giant steps carved by human hands. It was enormous. Over 160 feet long. 80 feet wide. 50 feet tall. A monument the size of a 5-story building. Sitting 80 feet beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean. The diver's name was Kihachiro Aratake. And what he discovered that day would ignite one of the most heated debates in modern archaeology. Was this a natural rock formation, carved by currents and earthquakes over thousands of years? Or was it the remains of a lost civilization, a city that sank beneath the waves 10,000 years ago, long before the pyramids of Egypt were even built? This is the mystery of the Yonaguni Monument. Let us begin with what we know. The Yonaguni Monument lies in the Ryukyu Islands, a chain of Japanese islands stretching between Kyushu and Taiwan. The waters here are swept by strong currents, part of the Black Current that flows through the Western Pacific. The monument itself is made of sandstone and mudstone, rocks that formed millions of years ago and are known to fracture along straight lines. To the untrained eye, the monument looks undeniably man-made. There are flat horizontal surfaces that resemble paved courtyards. There are vertical walls that rise at precise angles. There are what appear to be steps, carved in regular intervals, leading from one level to another. There are channels and trenches cut into the rock with sharp, clean edges. There are even what look like post holes, circular depressions that could have held wooden pillars thousands of years ago. And then there is the most famous feature of all. A triangular formation at the edge of the monument that resembles a massive stone face. Some call it a statue. Others call it a geological coincidence. The man who has dedicated his life to proving the monument is man-made is Professor Masaaki Kimura. He is a marine geologist at the University of the Ryukyus. He has dived at Yonaguni over 600 times. He has mapped every inch of the structure. He has created detailed three-dimensional models of every terrace, every step, every channel. And he is absolutely convinced that this is the remains of a lost city. Professor Kimura points to specific features that he believes could not have been formed by nature. A road that appears to wrap around the base of the monument. A drainage channel that seems designed to carry water. A retaining wall built from massive limestone blocks that do not match the surrounding geology. And what he believes is a stone arch, collapsed but recognizable, that once served as a gateway to the ancient city. He dates the monument to at least 10,000 years ago. That is the last time this area was above sea level. During the last ice age, when glacier covered much of the northern hemisphere, ocean levels were over 100 feet lower than they are today. The Yonaguni Monument would have stood on dry land. It would have been a hill, or a ridge, or perhaps, a pyramid. If Professor Kimura is correct, the Yonaguni Monument is older than Stonehenge. Older than the Great Pyramid. Older than the oldest known cities in Mesopotamia. It would rewrite human history. It would prove that advanced civilizations existed thousands of years before we ever imagined. But not everyone agrees with Professor Kimura. The most prominent skeptic is Professor Robert Schoch. He is a geologist at Boston University. He is famous for his work on the Great Sphinx of Egypt, where he argued that water erosion proves the Sphinx is thousands of years older than previously thought. He is not opposed to rewriting history. But when he dived at Yonaguni, he came to a very different conclusion. Professor Schoch argues that the monument is entirely natural. He points out that the sandstone and mudstone of Yonaguni are heavily fractured. These fractures run in straight lines. They create the sharp edges. They create the right angles. They create the flat terraces. He says this is a classic example of what geologists call jointing, where tectonic forces crack rocks along precise geometric planes. He also points to the strong ocean currents. For thousands of years, these currents have been flowing over the fractured rock. They erode the softer material. They widen the cracks. They smooth the surfaces. The result, according to Schoch, is a formation that looks eerily like a man-made structure but is actually the product of entirely natural forces. He does not deny that the monument is extraordinary. He does not deny that it is beautiful. He simply argues that nature is capable of creating structures that look artificial, and that we should not confuse geological patterns with human design. The debate between Kimura and Schoch has raged for decades. Neither side has been able to convince the other. Neither side has presented evidence that definitively proves their case. But there is something else. Something that makes the Yonaguni mystery even deeper. The local legends of the Ryukyu Islands speak of an ancient civilization that once ruled these waters. They call it Mu, or Lemuria. The stories say that this civilization was advanced, that they built great cities of stone, that they were destroyed by a cataclysm, a massive earthquake, a colossal tsunami that sent their entire world plunging beneath the sea. These are just legends, of course. Stories passed down through generations. The kind of stories that archaeologists dismiss as myth. But the Yonaguni Monument exists. It is real. It is sitting on the ocean floor. And it is asking questions that no one can answer. Around the monument, divers have found other strange formations. Stone circles. Carved channels. A massive stone slab that resembles a sundial. Caves with mysterious carvings on the walls. Shapes that look like animals. Shapes that look like human faces. The entire area is a submerged labyrinth of geological and possibly archaeological mystery. And then there are the tools. Professor Kimura claims to have found stone tools near the monument. Scrapers. Chisels. Implements that could have been used to carve the rock. Critics argue that these tools could have been dropped by fishermen or washed into the area by currents. But if even one of them can be definitively dated to the same period as the monument's submersion, the entire debate would be settled. The problem is, dating submerged stone structures is incredibly difficult. Carbon dating requires organic material. Stone does not contain carbon. There are no bones at Yonaguni. No wood. No charcoal. Nothing that can be placed in a laboratory and assigned a date. The monument guards its secrets with the silence of 10,000 years. So where does the truth lie? Is the Yonaguni Monument a natural wonder, a geological masterpiece carved by the patient hands of wind and water? Or is it a human wonder, the last remaining trace of a civilization that vanished beneath the waves? Perhaps the answer is both. Perhaps the monument began as a natural formation, a fractured ridge of sandstone, and was then modified by human hands. Perhaps an ancient people found this strange geometric hill and saw something sacred in it. Perhaps they carved its terraces sharper. Perhaps they deepened its channels. Perhaps they shaped its stone into a monument to their gods. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it is entirely natural. Perhaps our human brains are simply too eager to see patterns where none exist. We are wired to find faces in clouds. We are wired to see order in chaos. The Yonaguni Monument might be the most elaborate inkblot test in history, a massive rock that looks like a city simply because we want it to. The Japanese government has not made the debate easier. The Yonaguni Monument is not listed as a cultural heritage site. It is not protected. It is not officially recognized as anything other than an interesting geological formation. Official archaeology in Japan largely ignores it. The academic establishment has dismissed it. Mainstream historians do not include it in their textbooks. Why? Perhaps because acknowledging the monument would raise too many uncomfortable questions. If Kimura is right, the history of human civilization is incomplete. If Kimura is right, everything we think we know about the rise of cities, the invention of architecture, the timeline of human achievement, is wrong. And that is a terrifying thought for the academic establishment. It is much easier to dismiss the monument as a curiosity. Much easier to call it a natural formation. Much easier to leave it on the ocean floor and pretend it does not exist. But the monument does not care about academic politics. It does not care about reputations. It does not care about textbooks. It sits in the cold blue water off the coast of Yonaguni, patient and silent, waiting for someone to unlock its secrets. Divers continue to visit. Photographs continue to be taken. Maps continue to be made. The evidence continues to accumulate. And one day, perhaps soon, a new technology, a new dating method, a new discovery will finally reveal the truth. Until then, the Yonaguni Monument remains what it has always been. A mystery. A question mark carved in stone. A challenge to everything we think we know. If this deep dive into ancient mysteries fascinated you, subscribe to The Past Unsealed. We uncover the lost cities, the forgotten civilizations, and the suppressed history that the textbooks ignore. And if you want to see more stories like this, tell us in the comments. What ancient mystery should we unseal next? Thank you for watching.